I'd like to call, hey Bill, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And also the first thing I'd like to do is to ask for a motion to move acceptance of a gift of Darien Athletic Foundation and the Darien Foundation of up to $1.5 million for construction of Weed Beach Meadows and walking trail at Weed Beach before the minutes. Is there an objection? Motion? Second? Second? Thanks. All in favor? This is Dan Biggs from Weston and Sampson, and he is very kindly going to fill us in on Weed Beach and what they hope to happen.
Sure. So good evening, everyone. I'm going low tech, so I'm going to hold the graphic like so, but all the members should have copies. For those of you that aren't familiar, Weed Beach was the land adjacent to Weed Beach was acquired a number of years ago, which was previously called Short Lane Parcel. And I'm going to go through, so this is evolution of Short Lane has turned into the project that I'll talk about tonight. So on the first slide here, I run through a little bit of the history because the project has started as a short lane project. You'll see that was to make an open space, make pathways, make a meadow area, and that was in the spring of this year that was being designed and went through approval process. As that started formulating, Darien Athletic Foundation and Darien Foundation understood that was happening and approached the town to offer a donation to not only do the short lane parcel improvements, but also make a trail within the Weed Beach parcel. That was part of the master plan that was completed a number of years ago. So the process has been going, we've been working on this now for maybe only 4 months, but basically starting in July, we had a kickoff meeting with the two foundations, basically going through what would be the project would be included in this. Leading up to tonight, where we have tonight's meeting here, and also the Park and Rec Commission that I have to run to about 8 o'clock to give the same presentation. So the next slide, you'll see some of the site photos. What the impetus was for the project was to improve the current gravel sand parking area that's adjacent to the short lane parcel, and to make the short lane parcel into an open space parkland and a loop connector trail within the Weed Beach area. The next graphic you'll see here, this is an overall view of the Weed Beach parcel. So just for some orientation, as you approach in currently to the Weed Beach parcel, the Reed Park, you go past the guardhouse, which is right by my finger. You pass down along here to the existing parking areas, eventually all the way out to the paddle hut. You can see the gray line that loops all the way around is a trail network that's proposed within the woods, around the wetland, and along the shoreline, and extending out along to what is the short lane parcel. The short lane parcel that was acquired is basically this small space that's right here. And actually most of this area here is lands of the town that's under the oversight of the Sewer Commission. And back in the spring, they gave permission for Parks and Recreation to improve that part of their oversight lands as a part of this greater park space within the short lane parcel. So a couple things I'm going to run through. On the next slide, you'll see here, gave some statistics on the project, just basically what we're looking at. Idea is to have a mile long or just under a mile loop trail for walking, strollers, really beginner bicyclists is what I would think for children and youth. It's an off-road facility that youth and families can enjoy within the park space and really not have to ride the bikes on the parking lot area. There's a fitness circuit. Currently there's fitness areas that are scattered throughout the backwoods area, back in here most specifically, underutilized, have seen better years. So the idea is to collect that and to make into a fitness cluster where we could use all the equipment together in one spot, and I'll go through that here in a minute. And then the ideas also include a boardwalk. So back maybe now 10, 12 years ago, there was a plan for Weed Beach that included a boardwalk section along the beachfront here, and this is to incorporate that boardwalk. That would be to extend the beach area out to the short lane parcel to the end where the Darien Junior Sailing has their boats stored right now. So quickly on the next slide, in red, they're kind of some of the items I'm going to cover here in the overview. But really, as I mentioned, you have a loop trail, So I'm going to talk about the trail itself, what it's composed of, coming back around counterclockwise, the boardwalk overlooks area. So not only having a boardwalk that's kind of at the top of the beach, it's having some areas that people can sit and benches overlook the beach, and they're set into the dunes that are blocking the parking lot from the beach area. The boardwalk extends out. That area is actually a widened beachfront, so taking the current beach edge and pushing it back towards, if you know where the old driveway was, with a little knee wall, that actually will be removed, so the beach will be expanded back towards that grass area. I'll talk to the meadow area here, which includes the loop circuit, some paver areas for oversight and seating for amphitheater, a little restored wetland area with a boardwalk, and then the path that continues around through the raised crosswalk, which I'll cover. And then I mentioned also the equipment cluster that we're going to recollect and put here along the trail. So the first area really is about the trail. The proposed trail is between 8 and 10 feet wide, asphalt surface. We went through with the different foundations on options for surfaces, and asphalt is the most economical decided by the group. Basically a standard asphalt path, and then at the crossing, in order to improve safety or to minimize or alert drivers of the path that's crossing the road, to have a raised crosswalk. I don't know if any of you are familiar with these, but basically if you're on the road, you would go up a little rise and come down as a driver. But as you're the trail user, it's flat for you the whole way. So a trail user will come across, have a smooth surface, as you see here is delineated in red. So trail user will come straight across and cross the road with no ups and downs. The next slide, we talked through ideas for the boardwalk. So we went through different material options, from concrete to standard pressure treated wood. IP wood is a boardwalk surfacing that is a hardwood. It has a longer lifespan than pressure treated. It's a little more sensitive to the context. For those of you that are familiar with Guilford, just recently did, maybe a year and a half ago, their boardwalk within the same condition. I don't think it's this picture, but it looks much like this, where it'd be flush with the beach elevation, so it's a boardwalk elevation the same as the beach, and then that would continue along out to the short lane parcel. On the next slide, you see here what looks like the wood would be the boardwalk continuing and having a couple or two overlook areas that are raised and set into the berms of the dunes area for seating and enjoying off of the trail, off the boardwalk. There's another one here that's also shaded under the tree area here. Same idea, where it's set into the berm and seating area that is flat for people to enjoy. It's also close to the beach pavilion, which is just beyond the tree here on the left. So that boardwalk will continue all the way out to the short lane parcel. The next graphic here, back when we were working through the short lane, this is currently overgrown with a former home area, so it has lawn, has some ornamental shrubs. It was cleaned up with the past year or so, but mostly it's vacant lands. I believe there was an event there this past weekend from basically open area where people had a tent set up for a festival or some sort of event. So the idea is to have that here where it's an open space, which the green space is mostly in this area, overlooking a paver area that could be used for whether it's a little concert or whether it's a little craft fair or some event that overlooks the beach. And then this network here of pathways would connect for a full loop and connect through a restored wetland with a boardwalk that would span over the wetland area. And the existing stone gravel parking area would be improved to be asphalt, so just like the rest of the parking areas within the beach area or within the parking lot, be the same texture and same feel. So really enhancing the existing parking area for different additional users within the park space. Within this graph, you also see here in the lower right-hand corner, Darien Junior Sailing currently stores their boats down the corner, giving them an improved area for storing the boats as well within a gravel cave, which I'll run through here in a minute on the surface condition to allow them to store their boats still. So next slide, see here, upper left-hand corner, this is the current condition for Darien Junior Sailing. They store the boats on an old driveway asphalt area, and they stack the boats. And the idea on the right-hand side is here to give them a gravel pave, which is a firm surface, but also allows water to infiltrate into the surface, so it's more sustainable, and it's easier to roll on the dollies, the dinghies, in and out of the water into the rack area. I mentioned the fitness circuits. The lower left-hand corner is a picture of the current fitness equipment that was put in a number of years ago. The idea is to cluster these together so users have one common place to come and use fitness equipment, and which is right by the tennis courts. Was the idea to have a central located location that people would be willing to use it and not be kind of tucked back in the woods, hidden away from everything.
What kind of surface will that be on?
As of now, we're thinking about concrete or possibly a stone dust material, so a soft surface. We haven't really decided on that one right there. I have to get a count on the number of equipment to see how big the area would be for the fitness equipment.
Are we using the equipment that we have now?
The idea is to pull them out, yes, and then
And put
replace,
them-
yes. Only with the caveat that if they're not in a condition that can be reusable, then I won't recommend that they be reinstalled. We'll probably have them purchase new equipment to replace.
That was donated to us.
Yeah, they were,
That was donated through a program.
Why?
Yeah. I just don't know the condition of
Yeah.
some have been so
Sure.
underutilized. So.
Do you know what kind of surface it is at Waveney where they have it all clustered?
I think that they have a rubberized, poured in place surface, kind of like
Yeah.
what it would be on a playground area.
Yeah. Did you consider that?
We did. We just haven't gone there to decide
Okay.
which to use. So it's an
Got it.
option.
Thanks.
The next slide really is just the next steps that we understand the process going through. So after tonight, here I guess Adele will be taking this and presenting to the greater RTM on Monday for acceptance of the gift, if that's desired. From there, we're going to EPC. The plan is next month in November, with a decision in December, and then planning zoning would be in January of next year for their approvals of the final plan. The goal of all this is to have the trails in a meadow completed for the quinticentennial, I think, right? Yeah, which is in June of next year. So it's very fast, it's very quick. Only having done this for 3 months, we have a lot more to do. So,
Could you talk a little bit about, I know you're moving some wetlands. Where
yeah, so if you go back to what is the short lane graphic. Probably best to show this graphic. So here, so with the blue area that's here, currently there is a wetland that's mostly of that area. Just for those that don't know, that was once a wastewater lagoon. So before this was a pumping station, they actually would discharge waste into there as a cleansing. Yeah, glorious wetland. They do have good functions. Just now we pump everything across the river or across the water. But there are wetlands in this area, in this general area here, that we're going to remove because they're poor quality, and then we're going to enhance and restore the wetland that is this pocket here to make it one wetland system rather than having these pockets of wetlands that are pretty degraded. If anyone was walking there, it's pretty much Phragmites, taller than me. You can't get through anything, can't see anything, so the idea is to restore that so it's a wetland you can walk through and actually see throughout around the whole wetland area.
Is that land contaminated?
It's not contaminated, no.
Are you going to remove the Phragmites?
Yes, so part of our plan is to have a multi-year process for restoring the wetland and removing the frag.
Are they going to remove any other invasive plants that are in the area?
Yes, so a part of this plan here, there are species that are invasive in this.
Artemisia?
Yes, there's also barberry, there's for the other species out there, but yeah, so the idea is as it's being reconstructed, that those would be removed as
Will
well.
it happen on any other areas of the park or just in that area?
The greatest improvement for land disturbance is happening here, but back on the back side by the back tennis courts, if
Yes.
you're familiar, right, there's a bit of invasive vines into the woods. So the idea was to have selective clearing and thinning of those areas to remove, because there's also a high mosquito population or fly population in there. So how to minimize that kind of undesirable condition for users is the plan.
Can you tell me what this dotted line is for?
The red dotted line?
Yeah.
That's just to show you that that's the area that I was focusing on each of those pictures on the following pages.
Because this goes over near Water Lane and that's not our property.
No, I understand. Yeah, that's just delineating that's the meadow area that was on this next page. It's not an improvement proposed. It's just delineating here like a typical trail delineating. Here's a boardwalk overlook delineating that area, and here's the meadow that's delineating that space as well.
Will this boardwalk take away from the present beach area?
The boardwalk is proposed along the current beach area from the dune in about 10 feet. But once it gets beyond where, if you know, the beach kind of necks down and then pinches towards the sailing boat storage, that beach is actually widened back in there by maybe 20 to 30 feet. So the consistent width is, the goal is to have a beach that's a consistent width all the way across, just like the beach that is now by the beach house.
Okay, how wide is this boardwalk?
10 feet wide.
10 feet.
That's a lot. You said 8 to 10 before.
That's the trail, sorry. Yeah, yep.
Okay.
The trail is 7 to 10 feet,
No,
but the
8 8
boardwalk.
to 10.
8 to, okay. Let me just go back here. I know we're in a rush, but I need,
The trail, when you're going around, further around where, you know, the old picnic area
Mhm.
where we used to have a lobster bake
Yep.
20 years ago when I first moved here. So the trail back in that really grassy area.
Back in here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that also gonna be asphalt?
Yes. Yep. So the whole length here is asphalt all the way around. This section right here, which kind of goes up and over the knoll from the front tennis courts to the back wetland, that's the only piece that's almost in question right now as to how we're doing that.
Okay.
We propose that may be an alternative surface, but hasn't decided yet as to what that's going to be. Just to keep the primary route would be asphalt, and this might be a secondary softer surface trail.
Okay.
Can
And
you
so
tell-
can I just follow up on that? It's another Waveney question. If you've been to Waveney, and they've done a great job with doing their surfaces all
Yeah.
around, do you know what that's made out of?
I believe that they have a couple surfaces. I think there's a poured in place. I think is for some areas, and they have a almost a bound stone dust material. So it's it's like a hard pack, some might call
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Now,
So
did y'all consider that?
yeah, that's what we were considering that for this area for the soft service.
Okay, but you wouldn't consider it back in the grassy area?
Yeah, so the balance that we're kind of working through is if you go from the heart of the surfaces, obviously the more wheel uses can be, so whether it's inline skating or say a scooter or a bike, that's the benefit on that end. The softer you go, the less the wheel users can use. So it's good for running, good for walking, but less bicyclists or less scooters or skaters. So the idea is having a full circuit for users of as many modes as possible led to the asphalt as preference.
When you say
Excuse
inline
me.
skater, I'm like, oh, I got rid of my roller
Yeah.
blades 30
Or
years ago.
scooter, or a small wheel.
Scooter
a
or
small wheel user.
skateboard, right?
Can you
Skateboard.
tell us about the
Thank
paver
you.
plaza area?
Sure. So in this area here, it's an arc shape. Here's a copy. It's an arc shaped paver space. So pavers, very much like you might have on a patio, concrete surface, hard surface, in this general arc shape.
And what does whomever planned this envision that to be used for?
So this is shaped that if they were to have an event here, say there was a small jazz band or something, and people can sit on the lawn overlooking that with the backdrop of the beach, or if there were a small tent set up for say a craft event, they could be in the lawn area, and that could be the hard surface to have temporary tenting or other activities.
Is this boardwalk intended for jogging and bicycle use?
Yes, it's intended for that.
I don't know, I mean, at the Cove in Stanford, they have a large loop that goes around, and they have separate areas about similar widths for bicycles. I think this area, even though it's 10 feet or something, I think that's kind of, people can't walk and ride bicycles in the same area, I think you're looking for trouble. And jogging, I mean, I understand walking and strollers for kids, but I don't understand bicycles and jogging.
Anything else on the,
Yeah,
committee have a question?
I'd like to go over this boardwalk. I wish I had had this information the last couple of days, so I could have gone down to the beach and measured this out and really had a good hard look at this, because this is about the only tree that's down there. Then they have more trees that were planted a few years ago that really didn't do well. In this picture over here, you have a whole bunch of trees.
Yeah.
Are these all new trees
They're
being planted
proposed,
there?
Yes.
Okay. And are you proposing any new trees along this area?
We
here?
are.
Okay, because it's not there, but a 10-foot walk. And now I'm looking at this, and you're coming in here in the first entrance between the dunes, and you've got,
Which page are you on?
I'm on this
I think
one,
that the perspective view.
boardwalk overlooks. You're coming through
Yep.
the dune, and you've got a couple of picnic tables in there with the umbrellas that we just bought. And then you have stairs going down to the beach. And you have stairs over here, and you have a pathway here for, let's say, people that don't want to do stairs. This is going around the whole area all the way over to this boardwalk. Where does the boardwalk end? Maybe that's my question.
It terminates at the Darien Boat Club, or Darien Junior Sailing Boat Area, which is at the end, yes.
All the way over here.
Correct.
So this is all a wooden path.
Flush with the elevation of the beach, except for in the overlook areas where you see that it does rise up to having a small area to sit on against the beach, but just in those overlook areas.
Well, you've got stairs right here.
Yep. So just in the overlooks.
Okay,
that
but
the
you've got
boardwalk-
stairs down here.
Yeah, just in the overlooks. There's two overlooks right here.
The overlooks are raised areas.
Yeah.
Well, this is an overlook
This
here,
one
sitting
has-
back.
That's an
overlook.
Yeah.
Is
So
this another
so-
one back here?
the idea is that if you're in the parking lot, and these are accessible parking stalls, that you would still have an accessible route out to the beach. So
So going down further on the beach,
Where does it stop, actually, going towards the,
I think that's,
So the question is, where does the
Extremely-
boardwalk stop?
Okay.
So this is the end right here. This is where the current pavilion is. So it
that
terminates
end.
at that sidewalk. At
Okay.
the other end, if I go back to the overall view, it
we're going to
terminates
preliminary
right
plan.
here, which is at the, right here at the end, which is the Darien Junior Sailing launch area.
so then to connect
The loop.
the loop, walk me through,
How to do that?
at the end of the,
Yes.
at the
Here.
pavilion.
Here.
Okay.
When you get to the pavilion,
Yes.
where does your loop go?
So it goes in the front side of the pavilion, it comes around, and then adjacent to
Use the
the
sidewalk that's there?
sidewalks, they are gonna have to widen that, because that's currently only 5 feet wide. And there's parking stalls in those and then along the existing playground area, we have to adjust that fence line to give the width, and then along the nose of all those parking stalls, which is basically all these stalls, and looping around to the back.
Can I ask a question about materials, and if it's already been asked, somebody please tell me, because I came in late.
There are pictures of.
Are you committed to using natural wood on the boardwalk?
That's what the plan is, to be using.
Because I'm looking, you have IPay listed here. I have a deck made of IPay, and I regret the day
Really?
I put it in.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's a very hard wood, which is great, but it's constant maintenance. With the winter and the elements and the salt air
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it just constantly ruins the finish, and then you've gotta sand it down and refinish it and reglaze it again. It's maintenance, it's money.
Sure.
And I wish that I had put in a synthetic
Oh, later.
board. And those synthetic boards have come a long, long
The
way.
Trex.
It used to be, there was just Trex deck and that was it. A lot of companies make it now. It's really, it looks good, it feels good, it sounds good, and there's no maintenance.
They
None.
get very hot. That's one thing.
But there's no, I'm just telling you, there's gonna be a lot of cost with the wood. I just,
So we proposed to the
let you know.
foundations the various options for materials
uh-huh,
with the cost associated with them, and this was the middle ground preferred.
cause IPay is expensive to purchase,
Yes, it was.
and it's expensive to maintain.
Yeah.
So that's.
So one
that
option was
iPay.
there's a concrete product called Permatrack. It gives the surfaces. It is concrete, can be colored. It actually gives the pattern or the texture of a board system.
Right.
Very less maintenance. It's a little more sturdier or stronger, because it's a concrete product. So that was on the high end of the cost, and the lowest end is crushed tree, which is not recommended at all.
Right.
So this was what was preferred, but I think it's comments that we can provide to foundations for
Mhm.
consideration.
Okay.
What is the foundation of the boardwalk? In other words, is there foliage gonna be put in the?
Yeah, so the bark has not been designed yet, but the idea is to have them as helical piers. Helical piers.
Which means,
Basically, it's a screw, a big
Oh,
screw that augers down, and that gives you the support for the base.
do you think this type of boardwalk proposed here could stand a hurricane of any sort?
Yeah, it's going to have to. So our structural engineers are looking at not only the use of it, but also the uplift of a storm event. So that's what they're considering the foundation design.
And what's the maintenance of all of this gonna be?
As in terms of how often, or
Well, how much is this gonna cost us to maintain if, like she said, this IP wood is,
sure,
if you were to use that,
sure.
is costly, and we have quite a few feet of it. How much would something like that be to maintain, let's say, every other year to be on the safe side? How much is this boardwalk, all gonna cost to keep clean and sand off and
Splinter free.
Yeah,
splinter free?
There's not many splinters.
And,
It's so
and the
hard.
concrete, and then you're gonna put a concrete, all this is gonna be concrete going around everywhere else, I mean,
Asphalt.
asphalt,
So,
asphalt.
so in the process of
Concrete
evaluating these, Jim Flynn, who's the maintenance superintendent for the Parks Department, was there commenting, providing feedback on all the options of material selection. I can't give you a number on what would it cost. I would just be guessing at this point. But there is a maintenance. Obviously, the more facilities you have, there's a cost involved. That's no secret. To say how much you take, I don't have those numbers on hand. So
And you feel that $1.5 million is going to cover this whole process?
I believe so. Yes.
Is this, in the diagram here, is this an existing, concrete? wall?
Yeah, so on the back side of those dunes you're pointing to, which is, they are all existing there.
Okay, thank you.
What's the time frame on this?
So we are currently in the design process with a hope to go to EPC next month, November. And
We'd like to get it all done for the birthday bash.
yeah, planning and zoning would be in January. So decision by EPC by December, planning zoning in January, and hopefully breaking ground, I think April, with the completion by June for the ceremony celebration.
This is gonna take 2 months to do?
Is there,
Only 2 months to do.
Only 2 months. I'm not the builder, but the builder that we're talking to hasn't expressed any concern about doing this. So
can I ask, is there any loss of any parking? I know
There's-
we're adding the additional parking.
Yeah,
Is
there's
there any
no-
loss towards the front where the kids' playground is or in front of the tennis courts? No?
no,
Great,
no.
thank you.
And just one more thing about the wood, I mean, I don't know what the exact dimensions are, but
Sure.
I'm just sort of looking at the long stretch of it, comparing it to my deck,
Sure.
and what I pay
Yeah.
every other year
Yeah.
to, you
Sure.
know, sand it down and re-stain it and refinish it. You know, you could be paying as much as $50,000
Okay.
every other year to do that, depending on who your contractor is and what kind of a deal they give you or
Yeah.
don't give you,
Okay.
so. as opposed to a synthetic product,
Sure.
which is zero.
But
I
I
was
have to say, the synthetic product, we have a deck of that, you cannot walk on it barefoot.
Too
It's so
hot.
You
hot.
scorch
too
your
hot.
feet.
And
Yeah.
this is on the beach.
Yeah.
People are gonna want,
Too
and,
hot.
I mean, literally, you
Is it
cannot.
more than
step on it.
concrete?
No,
Is it-
the synthetic,
I
Like
mean,
a
is the
Trex.
synthetic hotter than concrete?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I built the deck last year, so I was with my children are 6 and 9, and I actually took all the products out because my wife thinks I'm crazy, and I laid out on our where the deck was gonna go, pressure treated cedar and Trex and concrete, and you could not pick up the Trex; it got so hot in the middle of the day. The concrete could pick up, and I went with cedar because it was more than the pressure treated. The pressure treated is gonna splinter, and I can maintain the cedar better. So I would not recommend Trex in this application, and it just gets too hot.
What is it called E-Pay?
I pay.
I-Pay?
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yes, it's a natural hardwood material, natural wood
So,
product.
this is what the deck is gonna be made out of at Pear Tree?
I don't know what I believe that's what has been
Because
recommended. I
last
believe
night it
so.
said,
Yes.
I wrote down E-Pay.
Yes.
So
Yep. Same material.
it's the same
It's the
thing.
same thing.
It can have different color variations.
So this is what this is, this IPE thing.
Yeah.
And
Which
you can
is-
stain it differently to change the brown.
Oh.
Right, that's what they said last night.
It tends to gray in time if you don't do the maintenance on it.
Correct.
So it goes from a dark burnt umber to a dark gray-ish. So, but it all depends on how you treat it.
So
And
that's,
this is the
so
stuff
here's
that gets so hot you can't even walk.
No,
on
that's
it.
Trex.
Okay.
Trex is a manufactured plastic decking material like at Home Depot or Lowe's.
Is it necessary? I mean, do you have to do
They
something
sell it
to
rains
it?
in, there are other
I mean,
companies
if you don't want
besides
that
Trex.
pristine color,
I
does it
think-
matter? Yes, does it matter if it,
No, it's
Weathers?
pretty sustainable, so it can last. It's just its aesthetic preference.
right?
Yeah.
But you need to seal it.
Yeah. So there's all the way from it being perfect to what can you live with. That's gonna come down to time and cost.
Thank you, that's very interesting.
Okay, any other questions for Dan? I know, I promised 20 minutes and I think I blew it. So he's gotta go, it's 8 o'clock. So any
I
last call
think
for
we want to
questions?
have a discussion on that.
Okay,
Gotta hold your kids
thank
in
you
your
very
lap.
much.
No,
No,
I've
he's
seen
gotta commission.
not that easy. I
Oh,
wish.
okay.
It's supposed to be.
Okay.
Thank you very, very much.
I sent you an email, because I didn't know if you were having this meeting, did you usually send a confirmation? I'm like, I haven't heard from him, even though he's going to cancel.
No, more like, yes, sorry.
Okay, I wasn't sure. And then I called your house and you weren't home, I was like, okay, that's probably that. I need to get your cell phone.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have discussion on this before we vote?
Absolutely.
I'm upset that I didn't get this sooner, because I would have gone down to the beach and really had a good hard look at this size of this boardwalk and the path going around and all that. It's a lovely gift, but $1.5 million, when there's a lot of other things that could be done with $1.5 million.
You understand it's donated.
It's not.
Yeah, and a donated gift is lovely, but it's a lot of money to do all of this, and I mean, people sit under these trees, and now it's, trees are an issue, but they said they were gonna plant trees. I think that it would have been nice to have the people that are giving us the money come to one of our meetings and talk to us about this. I don't know. I know F&B didn't vote for it last night.
I think they're going to hope to get some, they may meet again before
Before the
the
meeting,
RTM meeting.
when
They were making the choice to not opine on it, that's right?
I'm
They
sorry.
just wanted some, they just needed some numbers.
Well, they
It's not-
needed to
not
know the
opine.
maintenance of it, and they needed to know
Yeah, so
other
that's what,
conditions.
so I would assume that they will get that information and, or else they will ask for it to be postponed.
And we don't really know the maintenance, how much the
No, we don't,
maintenance
no, we
will
don't,
be to
normally
it.
we did, I mean, we certainly did with the, I don't think they know yet, I think that's a problem, yeah. It's the time that's falling in the year.
I know, I mean,
If they don't get started on it, if they don't start the process of going through the,
Take away parking and make
through
these-
the, through the,
seem entirely
This is
confident
redundant
in the
to have a
1.5 number, and if it goes above that,
no, it won't go above that.
okay, they just.
It is
they work-
1.5.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know
It's
if
a
any
gift.
costs would roll
It's a
over.
gift, there's nothing that comes to the
The
town.
trail ends.
Yeah. Trail ends, or they,
May not be a loop.
Sorry, we
or
couldn't
they
make the
don't,
loop.
or they don't, exactly, they don't do, they change something, or, but yes.
But
And are we
they're-
voting on the plans that they're given as given, so that once the 1.5 is approved, they can use that money however they want to? Are we just signing up on that, or how much then will they come back and have discussions with us with the planning process, or is this it?
I don't think they're coming back to us for the planning process,
So
but they do have to go through, they have to get the permits, so
So it's either this or it's nothing then?
if this is, if we're gonna accept a gift of 1.5 million.
So we're
This-
just
this is
voting
what
to
they're-
accept the money?
We're just voting to accept the money.
Yeah.
Oh, but not the
But we're
plan.
not approving
Right.
this then?
Okay.
Well, this is their plan, but we don't get to do anything with it. It's 1.5 million.
So we're
Am I
just-
right, am I
Yeah.
right, Diane?
I don't
We're
understand.
We're accepting 1.5 million, it'll have to
And
go
then they'll
through,
decide what they'll do with it later?
no, it'll have to go through zoning board, it'll have to go through planning.
This
and
is the
zoning.
plan, Bill. The part, and the part that we've seen before is the part on that short lane property. This is the same as what we saw at the
Did
beginning.
anyone see this boardwalk business before tonight?
no.
No, because here's we're meeting at the same night, which I understand everybody that it's not great that we're meeting the same night as the commission is meeting, but because of the Columbus weekend, we couldn't meet before, but in fact, this is only being, they're only making he's making his presentation to the Parks and Rec Commission tonight. So we were just lucky we could get him in here so we could understand it a little bit better, so we could have enough information to vote on whether it's but the part of the plan that we have seen, it is that short lane parcel, because it is the same plan as that we saw.
I'm not against the trails
Last
going
fall.
around, I don't particularly care for the boardwalk idea because it's taken away from the beach.
Right, I can relate to that.
Maybe that's part of, if it goes over 1.5, the boardwalk goes away.
Well,
And the
I'm
rest
more-
of the development happens.
I think this is the focus, one of the major reasons the gift is being
I
given.
don't, I think the boardwalk came in at the end, I think they were
Oh.
focused
No.
on
No.
the trail
I
around, the
don't-
developing the meadow, remember they
Well, I
had
mean,
this
he's
whole
correct,
debate
it
over
was,
the meadow?
the boardwalk, I think, was a part of the
Original plan.
original plan for
Right.
Weed Beach, when they redid it. And then little by little, bits got Xed out of it for money,
Right,
so I think that's where it came from originally.
that's where it came
From the
And it
original
is-
Weed Beach plan.
Yes,
the
and it is in the, I think it's in the, I didn't bring the map, do you still have it?
master plan.
So, I think it's in the master
Well,
plan
yeah,
as
but
well.
this came from the renovation of Weed Beach 10, 12 years ago. And there was a boardwalk, but because of financial situation at the time, they took the boardwalk out. So now, because it was there originally, the commission wants to put it back in. So that's where this originated from.
But this is the plan, I mean, they're not gonna go out and
Yeah,
Do
if
something
you're
until
voting
we-
for the money, you're voting for the plan, is what you're saying. Am I wrong, or?
no, I think pretty much. But you're not voting taxpayers' money.
But we are voting for taxpayers' property
And
and
maintenance.
the maintenance.
It's the
And
maintenance,
thing
that-
is,
it's the maintenance that we don't know that
We're
that's
taking
the
away
issue,
more
I
and more
think,
of the
yes.
beach here, and you can't supposedly
Yes,
create more
that's
beach.
true, that's true.
So, I mean, we have a cement walkway here now. It's almost gets a little redundant, having two areas
I agree.
paralleling the beach.
I don't see what intent, like, what is it serving, what purpose is it serving exactly? It's so short that why wouldn't you just take the sidewalk?
Well, they have these viewing stands or raised
Overlooks?
Yeah.
overlook.
And that looks like it has to be cut into these dunes that they
Oh, is that
built.
allowed?
Right.
built to begin with. I mean, now they're taking the dune away by
Well, it's
Well,
putting
not
Okay.
in,
completely, I don't think, but
well,
yeah,
I
it
mean,
looks like
if
they're
you just,
carving
Like on
little,
top of it.
little
yeah,
notches
they're
out
just
of
carving
it.
it out. I don't know,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Is it
so many
possible-
other
Couldn't they
things, $1
just
million
level
could
the
be.
dunes and put the boardwalk
some-
over there?
or, is it possible to vote with a condition attached
No.
to it?
No.
Either you vote to accept the gift or you don't.
Okay.
And
Could
that's a
you
very
vote-
difficult decision for
It is.
everybody to
I know- I
make, because
know
a
it
gift is always nice to have, and we always appreciate any money Park and Rec can get at any time to do anything with. It's just that we don't have anything to say about what they do with the money. We approve it, and then they can spend it any way they want.
Can I throw out one little line here? I hear you, and I understand everything that's going on here, but I feel like the bigger fight is Pear Tree Point and not this. This is free. And I just feel like the Pear Tree Point issue is a bigger problem, and that if we're going to argue about something, I feel like we have to pick our battles.
But we have no
So-
say in either one of them other than to take what they present in front of us or not take.
But if we say we don't like anything, then I don't feel we're gonna be very credible.
Well, shouldn't we have some say in what, or we're just approving or not approving things? We have no say in what can be done or proposed, or
No, it's I mean, forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn, but on a lot of committees, I know in education, you're just approving money, you don't get to decide where it goes. It's like, you approve the money and that's it, and you're done. And that's normal.
That's
It's
is
not,
that what it is?
that's normal.
It is normal.
Yeah, that's the way it
So
works.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
If we vote to, to accept this, in your speech, would you be allowed to say, but we do have concerns about the boardwalk and the maintenance? Like, are you allowed to add just that caveat, but we
Sure.
did vote for it?
Sure,
That might be a,
Sure.
Means nothing, but
but it's said to 100 people to give them thought, so when this goes down the line to P and Z and other places, there'll be enough of the 100 people in the RTM maybe asking that question and giving feedback that, do we really need that boardwalk? It gets it out there.
By the
Good
way,
idea.
I think basically, really you're talking about particularly the part that's on the existing Weed Beach. Yeah,
Yeah.
as opposed to the part of it that will go down with it in the
I'm
new
not concerned
area.
about the trails and
Right.
everything.
Well, the boardwalk does go down there too, yeah.
Well, it isn't on this particular drawing
Because that was the original.
though. No, it's here, but it's not along the beach.
well, it's not on the original.
It
They don't
is.
show the whole, here,
Here too.
here.
think it
It
is.
goes
This
from, it goes
It's
down.
not on this.
Right, it goes all the way down from like near.
He said it goes all the way
You
down
see
to
there?
junior sailing,
There's
so
no-
it
Right.
does.
There's only one here. This
Right,
part is
this
not.
map isn't correct, so it goes along.
That was the
this-
original, that was the original one that we
This was
got
the
last.
original one,
Yeah.
so it goes from the bathhouse all the way down
To
to
junior
the junior
sailing.
sailing.
Okay. So,
And that's where the kayak place is too. So the kayaks,
They're not.
fingers crossed,
Front
they
of
find
them.
somebody else.
the kayaks guy.
They'll figure it out, it's portable, they pick it up, they move it, that's a non-issue. They built it, they picked it up, they move it. They're light, they're not done in the
Yeah, but
ground
is he
with
gonna be
screws.
out in the, farther out onto the beach, taking beach, but, or is he gonna be back underneath the tree where he is?
Well, remember it's, first of all,
10 feet
first of all,
wide.
first of all, the people went out of business. So
Oh.
they're gonna have to find a new vendor. But second of all, I think there's gonna be more beach down at that end
Well, that's
than there was, so that's
I
a
don't
nice
know.
part. So is there any more comments?
Yes, I have a question about the
Sure.
wetlands.
Uh-huh.
On here it
Being
says,
presented with something.
wetland
Nah,
to
you'd
be
have to
removed.
accept it or-
Yeah, but
I mean,
can you, no, it's gonna be
Some of
underneath
stuff
A
I
billion?
know, we didn't get any time to
It says
discuss
it's
it,
very
we're
small
not
print, you have to
giving us
remove
the money.
How do you
We've been
remove
talking to them
what?
about the whole thing, it's just, I don't
You
Yes.
can,
I agree.
as long as
Move
you,
wetland?
as long as you
Yeah.
well, you know, change the height, and they can do it,
Yeah.
take out the invasive species and so forth. But you also have to replace it. So they will replace it at that other end, at the top end.
Yeah,
You see, they'll make that area bigger, and they do it
and that's
nicely.
allowed to remove wetland?
If
You
you
are.
replace it
If
with
you
other-
replace it,
If you
yes,
replace
you have to replace
Okay.
it. You can't, not minus,
No,
you have to be
okay,
equal.
yeah.
So if we vote no, with saying specifically the no is because we do not like this boardwalk and we would like to see a different plan that didn't have the boardwalk, do you think they'd come back to us, or you think they'd just take their donation money?
No,
and
they
just-
take their donation money.
Mhm.
Not necessarily.
Well, I don't think
I
that's
can't-
a
I
way
can't-
to,
I
I
can't
don't
speak
think
for
that's a
them.
way to do business here, I think.
Right,
it-
what's their motivation for giving
Yeah,
it to
what's
us
their-
anyways? Like,
Well,
Well, it's a junior,
they gave the track at the high school, and nobody, we didn't have a 4-hour debate over it. I'm just saying it's the same thing. The
Part of the-
DAF donated the track right by the Dilla property, remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
And so this is a much bigger thing, I understand.
Yeah.
And this is on the beach.
But I
and
don't
it's
think
taking-
there's
It's
a
already
a
away.
seated,
It's a
you know.
very
Taking
small beach.
25% of the beach
Yeah.
away.
If you've been on a crowded day, there's not that much room on the beach
Yeah.
to begin with, and then you're putting in this huge 10-foot boardwalk plus these overlook areas. I don't know, I think it's gonna be a bigger deal when it gets down the road, but.
Did these people in advance talk to the commission about this?
they're bringing it
doing
to
it
a
right
commission now.
They're
tonight.
bringing it today, take
Yeah,
it or leave
tonight.
it. No discussion,
They'll have discussion, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it isn't like they had 4 or 5 months to put
Well,
this together.
but they've been working together with Park and Rec.
And we weren't advised of what was going on, or we were advised?
Well, they hired a consultant, and actually Dan is the consultant.
Yeah,
They've been
I-
working
No, I
with
mean,
Dan.
were you advised or anyone else here?
We were at meetings, I was at,
Sure.
No, I mean, did they say, okay,
Join us? No, they didn't say join us while we
No,
do our
no.
preliminary work. They
Okay.
did not do that.
yeah, okay.
but they did
But the folks, I
talk
think,
about it at the, pardon me, at the Parks and Rec Commission meetings
Mm,
that at least 4 of us have gone to.
Yeah.
So I have, this is the first time for me, I agree, seeing the boardwalk, and I agree, I do have concerns about that. But they have been talking about this program for a while. They present in front of the Board of Selectmen, they present in front of the Parks and Rec Commission and somebody else. So, but this is the first time we're seeing Weston and Sampson's design. That does include the boardwalk, so, I don't know, it's a tough call, I know, but I know I wanna get to the next meeting where I feel like we're gonna hear a lot of more information.
I quite frankly would like to hear what is being said downstairs
Okay.
before we
all
vote
right,
on this.
here's what we can do, I think.
Can we delay
We
vote?
can, yep, that's right. We can postpone, and we can call another meeting for before the RTM meeting,
Which
which
is when?
nobody likes to do.
Monday.
Monday. Which is not we're not a
I
fan
make a
of.
Well,
motion
why
that
don't
we.
you
Things
say-
often don't go well,
But we'll know more.
but we will know more.
Yeah.
If we can get down there fast enough.
Yeah, if we don't talk too long here, we can get down there.
So I make the motion that we
I-
postpone this until, another special meeting on Monday night.
Second,
All in favor? I think it's unanimous. That's what we'll do. Okay. So let's go back to the approval of the minutes. There's extra minutes on the table. Patty did a nice job. Oh, yeah, right there. It's the attendance sheet.
I did.
Attendance sheet down there?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, I got it.
Oh, thanks.
Okay,
So on the vote then, we're voting to postpone?
Yes.
postpone until another meeting,
And we'll postpone it till Monday.
Monday's meeting, before the RTM is.
No.
We should have heard from the commission.
Try to do that ourselves. Not much of it. Well, I'm
Here, here,
touch on
here,
it
you
briefly.
sit right there.
It's on the agenda.
Oh, no, this be fun. You sit right there. Come on,
Yeah, so I
let me
am.
give you a
We're
hand.
not,
Let's move, let's go through our,
All right,
see, I know what you're saying, I've got a couple
sit
of.
right there. No, you sit right there. Good, good.
my mom never told us, see?
I'm here.
If there's any people that wanna add your names to the list of the people that are in attendance, we'll pass them out
Another paper.
in the hall.
I think it's too
Turn
late,
it
so
over.
we missed it.
No, you
It's
can
not
sign.
necessarily to speak, it's just to say that you're here so that we know, have a record of who was here. So we'll be here till,
I'm gonna talk fast.
okay, well, we're not to you yet, we've got to approve the minutes. Have a motion to remove the minutes of,
So moved.
the 16th of September. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, good, good, good. Okay. Update on Pear Tree Beach Improvement Project. We, have the numbers now, that's the only thing new that we have. And then we have the numbers, there were some extra sheets out there, maybe they're gone. Cheryl, you want them?
Okay, so we've all seen,
Sorry about that.
we've all seen the design and,
I have not seen it.
last week, we went through the design again. We had the design and the model is downstairs in the town hall. I'm assuming it would probably be at the commission meeting that we're going to next. We have a preliminary, schedule of meetings. Last night, we went, well, the architect went to the, Architectural Review Board. At that meeting, they discussed preliminary things that they'd like to see, that they weren't too happy with the drawing, let's put it that way. They have on here, I don't have the gazebo, they talked about the gazebo and the ramps going up to the gazebo, and then there's a seating area and a ramp going around it, and then more seating area to the south side. So they're very concerned about enclosing the gazebo, and they weren't happy about this whole situation, so we have to go back to the drawing board on that. Their other concern was the pavers in the parking lot that are a reddish color. They were concerned about that. They were concerned about the picnic area, where the picnic area has, I didn't bring my other plan where I had everything out, oh here. A concrete or a paver area over here. They thought that that took away from the picnic area. They talked about, I just said these things in the parking lot. They talked about the deck at the top of the building, and that's why I asked, called IPE. I called it EPA, but I guess it's the same thing, which we've all discussed just now, that it's high maintenance. They did talk about the maintenance. They talked about the color of the buildings. They did not like the blue paint, the blue color of the bathrooms and the elevator shaft. No one mentioned the grass roof. They talked about the slanted roof and said that that would maybe be copper, and then the copper would oxidize over time and change color. They prefer that the whole building be all the same color tone, rather than colors here, colors there, and simplify the picnic area, the gazebo, and unify the colors. They asked, they asked about the community room, how big it was, what it was going to be used for, which we still aren't 100% sure, so the architect didn't really go into exactly what we were going to use it for, but he did say it would probably be a minimum of 34 people, and that it was for Darien residents. They also talked about let me make sure I have everything. Oh, that's the shed roof. They said that, they understood that. They talked about maybe not having a room up there, but having a deck instead of this whole facility. But they didn't go into exactly what it should look like or how. So like I said, this was just the first step to the Architectural Review Board. They want the architects to come back with a planting plan, parking lot area. They also want to know how many times Weed Beach Paddle Hut is used and rented and what they're doing with that and for what. And they also wanted to have a lighting plan, which we have not on the building committee discussed yet. So that ought to be interesting. So then,
That'll be okay. It's
well, it's
one of
gonna
those-
have to be
one of
lit
those-
because,
one of those details, you know.
yeah, and it's gonna have to be lit if it's gonna be rented at night. So then we got into the last meeting, so that was the Architectural Review Plan Board last night. Then we got into the preliminary budget, and I'm not gonna go through all these numbers, cause we wanna get out of here. So the site work element subtotal is $898,500. That's for all the site work, that's the cleaning, the asphalt removal, the, putting the sub base down, asphalt overlay, it's for, I'll get into that. It's for landscaping, trees, mulching, and all that. And then we have in here $137,500 for the boat ramp. Now, that does not include the dredging. So that's still
Okay.
a questionable mark over here.
Did they say that last night?
They didn't even talk about the boat ramp last night.
Because I thought we weren't sure about that.
No, they're not sure about that because we still have to do the sightings and the dredging.
No, I meant that the money is included or not included.
The money's included into the 898, the 137.5.
I got that part. But the dredging,
The dredging is not on here.
it's definitely not,
No.
it's not part of the boat ramp?
No,
Okay.
that's what they said at the meeting.
I thought
They
it went
didn't
the other,
know.
I thought it went the other way, so I'm just.
Well, as far as I understood it, we still had to go see how much the dredging was gonna be. And the, actually Neil said at our meeting, he really didn't know what this included yet.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So he didn't know what exactly that included, but he felt that that was not including the dredging.
Okay.
So that's the way I understood. Then we got over to the structure, the preliminary budget on the structure. Now, this is just preliminary. So, the restroom component, the upper level, the deck, the elevator shaft, the sprinkler system, the kitchen, the railings, the overhead doors, and the viewing platform is $1,306,500. Got it. So,
There's there should be another one of these things on here somewhere.
so with that, the site work, as I said, was 898.5. The structure is 1,306.5, and a 15% contingency is 337.50 with a grand total, preliminary, 2,535,750. So that's what's out there now.
Was anybody in the room just not in favor of building this building at all? And just keeping things small and simple, scaling it back?
Did you, I would suggest that all RTM members, and I'm gonna try and say this Monday night, watch the Vimeos.
Yes.
Watch our meetings. Cause yes, there was probably, I would say maybe 12, 14 people that spoke against this. I think what we're getting a lot of emails,
Yes, we are.
and I don't know whether you're getting all that we're getting, and
I
I'm
think
gonna,
everybody's getting them all, yeah.
I think everybody now is getting them all. So, I'm gonna say that with all the emails we've gotten and the petitions that are online that I've read and looked at, and there's about 4 or 5 of them, I guess, floating around. I'm gonna say everybody is in favor of a lot of the components of this project. But I don't see a lot of people in favor of the flexible space. And people that come to our meetings, all say that the flexible space, the second story building, is an issue.
Right.
So, if we're gonna look at this as a whole, as an RTM, and look at this as a whole, it was discussed at the Rules Committee meeting, because Lori Boer is coming to our meeting Monday night to give us an update on this, along with Genevieve's and all the rest of the projects going on. And Jack Davis said that this is either an up or down vote. And I know that, this is the first time the Rules Committee has heard about this, and this is the first time some of the RTM members are gonna hear about it Monday night, so I'm not so sure it's a yes or no vote, in my opinion.
We're not here yet. We're not there
We're
yet.
not
You
there
just
yet.
told us, the Architectural Review Board, that's a lot of stuff. So, the
And then,
building committee
well,
is not there yet, but this is
No, we're
what
not
they
there yet,
designed,
but
and
we
that's what
have
it
to-
costs,
Yeah, I mean,
so.
this is a
That's where we're at.
preliminary calendar. So we have to go back to the, I'm going to the Zoning Board of Appeals on 10/23. And then there's gonna be, no, you just submit the application on 10/23, sorry, it takes a month to do things. Then on 11/20, they present to ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals, and that's a public hearing where everybody can speak. Then they submit the application on 11/26 to the Architectural Review Board. Then on 12/10, there's a formal presentation of the Architectural Review Board. On 12/13, they submit the application to Planning and Zoning Commission. And that date, all these dates could change,
Exactly, yeah.
And then in
This is what they're shooting for.
January, they present the application for a public hearing. And then Weston and Sampson to submit the CLP to the DEP is after January sometime.
All
And
of
then that
these-
will
sorry.
take 3 to 5 months to get the permits.
That's correct.
All of these dates and these deadlines that you're talking about appear to be pushing the current architectural plan forward. So where is the place for the many people in Darien to say, stop? Let's make something smaller, scrap this plan, stop moving it forward, because there is a concern out there that as we meet all these deadlines, this plan is becoming more and more and more a reality. And then at that public hearing, when, we have our permits and we have this and here's our drawing and we're ready to go, you don't like it? Where is the pause button and where is the alternative button?
The pause button would be at the Park and Rec Commission. We got our charge from the commission. That's where you have to go to stop this. If
Who
they,
should people contact
the
specifically?
Park and Rec Commission,
Each member.
each member.
Each member
Each member of the Park and Rec Commission is the one that should be listening, that body should be listening to the community.
What is the sense of the meeting among that group about this plan?
They think,
Well, They all but one voted for it.
They're all gung ho on this?
Yep.
Why?
You have to ask them.
ask them, I can't speak
Nobody's
for
gonna
them.
tell you that somebody upstairs is pushing it,
Okay, guys,
so.
this is a speculation, and we're not going down the
Yes,
I'm not
speculation
correct.
route.
I can't speak for them.
And what we are trying to do, folks, is since we are meeting in the same night as at the commissioners meeting, we are trying to move ourselves along so that we can all go to the commission meeting, because there'll be many updates and things that we'd like to hear.
I just want to say one more thing
Sure.
about that. People can begin and should be contacting their RTM members
Right.
as well,
Got it.
because the RTM members speak to the commissions, et cetera. And if they see that the RTM is upset with this, or members, they might listen to do some changes here. because the RTM gets the final vote.
Exactly, and that, I think, is what Jack was talking about at the Rules Committee meeting, because in the end, the RTM votes
They will come to the
Right.
RTM, and it
for
is
the money.
very difficult, I think, for a committee to work so many years it'll be, your committee, and then at the end, come to the RTM and the RTM turns it down. Because they have heard from their constituents that they don't want it.
And this pear tree is in District 2. So if anybody knows anybody that's in District 2, or District 2 is your voting district, which you vote here at the town hall, those are the people you should contact.
Oh, I think it's the whole RTM.
Well,
because
yes,
at
the
very
whole
end,
RTM, but
Okay,
We're
guys,
all
let's
voting
not
on it.
lobby
we're all
here.
voting on it, but what I meant to say is District 2 is where pear tree
Are there
point
any other
touches.
questions, folks, on the money?
Could I just
On the
ask-
committee? Okay.
Can the audience ask a question, or?
You can ask a question, but I sure do hope all of you guys don't want to talk.
I just have
I
a
really
very,
do.
a very simple question.
You can, but
Is this committee gonna address the access road, the Pear Tree Point Road?
we're not
And-
allowed to do that. That's not in our purview.
Well, is
I know.
anyone looking
The
at that?
police, it's the police.
Is
And the
anyone looking
police
at that?
commission
The police
actually, I
commission,
think.
sir, it isn't our,
Yeah.
something.
And you're comfortable moving ahead without having any resolution to that?
Well, what I suggest you do is call down to the police department and ask to be put on their agenda
For the police commission.
for the police commission
It's
meeting.
not, but that's not my job. I mean, you guys are
It's
the
not
ones
ours
that have this
directly
project.
either.
Shouldn't you be trying to work
We
it
are
out?
only Parks and
No.
Rec, our
We're only
job
Parks
is
and
to
Rec.
look over the
We are-
parklands, that's not our
You didn't
job.
listen,
That's
sir.
a
It's
cop out.
divided, I know,
No.
but it isn't,
No,
the
you're
town is
not.
divided
Yeah.
into different pieces.
You want me to do
There's
something?
the education
I-
committee,
You know, I'm not on the committee. If I were on the committee, I'd be doing it.
You have a whole group
but
of
this
people
isn't
here
the
that are
committee.
together
This is-
with your
but-
point of view.
A different
You
committee,
have to
I'm
pick
afraid.
Can I
leaders.
just say something
Okay,
super
all right,
quickly?
okay, guys. Folks,
Can I
we
just
keep
have
this-
2 minutes since we've been sitting here? Would you mind? I just want to make sure, there's a lot of information when we've been to every meeting for a year. There's a lot of people saying that it's only the neighbors who are against this. I looked today at a site that we have, I have all of the comments here from people. There's 710 residents that are against this project for various reasons. Probably the biggest reason is that we're lucky enough to live in a town with 2 beautiful beaches. One beach maybe has ramps, maybe doesn't, has a playground, has all these things. Pear Tree is a gem. When we were at the architectural meeting last night, to their point, the gazebo is a special place. Why
Which
are
is the
we putting
picture right
ramps
there.
and why are we doing everything around? There is a concession
That
area,
is not
a concession area down at Pear Tree Point Beach now that really only offers prepared food. Like, you don't need a full kitchen upstairs. We've asked at every meeting, can you please give us a sense of how much the concession area generates? How many people use, there's flexible space at Weed Beach that is not used nearly enough. It's I don't know how much money it generates, but what you're proposing here is a 2-story structure with a flexible room that only holds 30, maybe 35 people. They're taking parking spots out. The maintenance of this is, we're talking about maintenance of a boardwalk. The maintenance on this property will be crazy. They're proposing to heat it year round. And it's a rental unit, so you have to pay to go down there in the winter, and there's an elevator. We've been at meetings where they say, don't worry about the elevator, the box of the elevator will be on the 2nd floor. Well, guess what? The mechanics are not on the 2nd floor. The beach alone, over the past few weeks, has flooded 6 or 7 times, full into the parking lot. It is not a broken valve. There's no sand on the west side of the beach. There's no sand. The parking lot is completely flooded. The sun is out. I bet if you went down there, it's supposed to flood again tonight at 1 a.m. We're not taking pictures, but it will be. And so the argument there is, well, don't worry, the water recedes pretty quickly. The fact is that the sand and the water were there. It doesn't matter if they were there for an hour or not. It will be constant maintenance.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Does
for the
anybody have something to say
Really
that they
needs
haven't
to
all,
go to
excuse me,
commission.
that they haven't already said
I do.
before at the last meeting?
A lot of people in here know me. I work with kids in the high school. Right now, we're working on the U.S. Constitution. I think I've been going to these meetings for the last couple months. I really think the larger issue here, and whoever the man was in here who got in it with that Michael that night and said, yeah, but we're the representatives. This is a representative government. I am appalled by what's going on here. I've just assumed that we had a representative government. It is appalling that we have people who are paid employees from Guilford. We have a commission. They're paid employees and volunteers. You guys are the representatives. You're supposed to be working for the people who voted for you. And this thing is just, it's out of control. and
Can
there's
I
no
say
stopping
something
it.
there? No,
That's
because
not
I
quite
find that
right.
offensive, excuse me.
Okay, please.
I find that
thank
offensive because people are working very hard that are volunteering. Cheryl is working very hard, and I feel like I have as well as an alternate on the building committee. And so your representatives are working hard, okay? So everybody deserves that respect.
I give you full respect. I'm just saying, I just don't know what the checks and balances is here.
The
I
checks-
know you don't, and that's what,
What is
She
the
is
checks
trying-
and balances here?
we are here to
We-
approve or disapprove something that is
Correct.
presented to us. We don't create it. We judge it when it's delivered. Like when the chef cooks a dinner, he presents it to you to eat, and you say it's good or it isn't good. That's what happens
But
here.
I think what happened here was that the chef, somebody asked for a piece of bread, and now you're getting like
But
a
we
10-course
don't,
meal.
you missed the
But-
point. The point is, we're not the ones that originate the idea, we're the ones that judge the idea when it is presented to us.
But
Am
I
I-
guess in
Correct.
judging
Well,
the idea, it should
okay,
go
I
back
think,
to what the residents asked for in
another
2007
different
in the
comment,
survey.
someone that
Which,
hasn't
no, I
already-
know, I
Can
appreciate
somebody that
that.
hasn't already spoken, please?
A procedural question. When it goes to the RTM, is it a unanimous vote? Is it a majority vote? Is it 2/3 vote?
It's
What is the
majority.
vote? It's a majority vote, and it's the entire RTM, or is it
Correct.
just District 2 that's voting?
No, the whole
The
RTM.
whole RTM.
The RTM is your money, is the money.
Right, okay. And how many
We
members?
vote,
Sorry,
we
I
vote
should
on
know
the,
this.
we
I
vote on the budget,
don't know.
100.
100 members,
At
okay.
least that,
Okay.
sometimes
So
we're missing
you
one or
need
two, but
51 people to vote.
yes, that's correct.
And this committee will be one of the committees commenting to the RTM.
And there's 3 committees
Then.
that do that, is that correct?
It depends on what's assigned to it at the time, when it comes, when the rules committee just sets the agenda for the RTM.
Okay.
And so they decide which committees, well, any committee can make a report if they want to, but they say who's
So
who's
they say
primary and who's
we think
secondary.
Parks and Recs and Budget and Finance and something or other
Correct,
should be on.
correct,
Okay.
correct. That's the way it works.
Am I correct in what I hear, I think I hear, that you did not conceive of this Pear Tree Point project?
Correct.
That's correct.
Is that
That's
correct?
Correct.
Who
That's
conceived it? Who conceived
The
it?
commission,
The Parks and Rec Commission.
Park and
Rec
Recs Commission, not committee, RTM committee, two different things.
The commission is meeting downstairs in
In
119 right now.
That's where you get to
And they
say something.
appointed a building committee, and of which Cheryl's a member and Adele is an alternate.
I
So the
understand.
building
Thank you.
committee
Come on, let's go down.
Yeah.
does what they
Well, I have a
Thank
matter
you
of-
very much.
do.
I have a matter of order, is, you're
Sure.
saying that we should speak to or communicate with the RTM, correct?
You can speak to whoever you.
Should.
No, but you're
Anybody
saying,
in
you're
It's a
saying in terms
suggestion.
of suggestion how to do it.
Yes.
So how do we contact them? What is the procedure to contact the RTM? Because I'm told that there's a bit of a wall in terms of putting something out and then somebody at town hall will get in touch. What
No,
I would like to know is.
I will explain that to you
directly in the
afterwards.
town
We don't need to
clerk.
take up the time for that. I'll explain that to you.
You can send it to the town clerk and ask her to send it to all
Just
the
give me your email and you'll have
Listen
it
to
all.
this gentleman, he knows.
No, but what I would like to know is that my email is
They are,
read.
they are.
Oh, yes. Oh, they
Yes.
are.
We're
Yes.
getting,
Yes.
we're
I've
getting
gotten a lot
lots
of letters
letters
from
Absolutely.
I just don't want it to go into a black hole.
No.
That's
Oh, yeah.
all I'm
No,
saying.
no, no.
No.
These people are doing their best, they really are.
People read them. You send it
Okay.
to me,
One
I
last
might
comment
read it,
and
I
then
might not.
Cost.
Well,
You
that's my
understand?
goal.
Cheryl mentioned that the
That's where
architect
they
gave a
are.
cost of 2.5 million,
That was their first shot at it.
but that does not include any of the architect fees?
Yes,
Otherwise, I could take a photo.
It does not, no, you can see the detail, it does not.
We know I think we already know the architect's fees are
Yeah.
set. We're set at the beginning of the process.
I don't believe that to be true.
It is
I
true.
know why you say that, I know why you say that, but on a $2.5 million project, he's going to find some way to get more than $120,000. Like, this is an insane amount of work for him to do for $120,000.
No,
Architect's fees.
we signed an agreement with him.
Oh, wow, okay, good for you.
We
Good
did.
for you.
To have him.
Okay, it does not have the dredging expenses, Cheryl's correct in that, because he said that explicitly in the
Did he?
meeting.
I thought he said he really wasn't sure, but that's okay.
And there are gonna be some structural engineering expenses that I don't believe are encompassed in this, because driving the
this is not
pilings
perfect.
alone,
I think this is not perfect, yeah.
driving the pilings alone. My big frustration is the town has done no studies for the demand on this, none. The town survey that they did ranked this dead last. No kitchen, no second
I'm sorry,
story.
let's not go there, okay?
Okay,
'Cause we
but
went-
no
we went
kitchen,
into
no
that-
second story.
we
I mean,
went-
that's a simple
No,
thing.
that part is true, but as far as doing the survey and we discussed that at the last meeting, so
Okay.
we don't have to discuss it again.
Okay, lighting though, you've never talked about lighting, you've
No.
never heard about lighting until Cheryl
Okay,
mentioned the
I
lighting.
think to be fair, that's a detail that it's next,
Just
down the road in the
Just think
process.
about where it is though.
Absolutely.
But you understand, it's the commission that
I
is
get all that,
creating
but
this
you
or
guys
not.
have to pay for it.
That
You have to pay for it.
That
fully
we do.
understand
Well, the whole
that.
And
town
so-
has to pay for it.
And so we are paying attention.
Please don't pay for it.
We are,
Please don't.
thank you very much. All right,
Thank
folks,
you, Carrie.
thank you guys for coming, we
I
appreciate it.
make a motion that we adjourn.
No, I
Oh,
can't, I
gosh.
shoot, we got two, I gotta jump through a couple of hoops.
Yeah,
if I can
okay.
find it.
Piece of paper.
Okay.
Okay, chairman's report, here we go. I believe that we've been invited to attend with the commission the tour of the parks. It's scheduled for October 26th. Okay, I'm not exactly sure where it starts, but we were invited. The Nature Center special permit request, the commission's gonna discuss and vote on that tonight. I just wanted you all to know that I did take our discussion from our last meeting, and I sent an email and asked a few questions, and then they had their discussion. I just wanted to make sure by sending that email that they knew that they would cover those things that we had talked about, which I believe they have. And you saw the spreadsheet that got sent, that I sent to you, that is the Nature Center gave to them, and they'll be talking to them about it tonight. So you understand that it is what is going on now already. It's nothing new that they're asking. They're not asking to expand. They've already expanded over the years. So anyway, the commission will be discussing that tonight. Hopefully not before we get down there.
Are they going to P and Z with that too?
Yeah.
So
They
you're in
already went to P and Z,
Oh.
and they opened the hearing,
Okay.
and they postponed it to the next meeting, P and Z, whatever
Okay, 'cause they're in
whatever the date
violation-
is.
They're in violation of their permit.
I guess they
Yes.
are. They're trying to, I think to be fair, I don't think they even knew they had a permit, so, never mind. They're trying to make it
The
to
last
be
director
accurate.
didn't say anything about it, I guess, to the current one,
Yeah,
and
that's
she
what-
was
yeah,
not
that-
aware of
and
it.
They're lovely people. They, we rent them land for $1, and they don't make any money off of what they do. They plow it all back into the Nature
Yeah.
Center. So anyway, and the other thing that's on the list tonight is possible capital improvement projects. They're gonna go talk about that at the meeting, I hope. Okay, you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Thank
all
you
in
very
favor?
much for letting me attend, and I
Oh,
really
we-
appreciate it.
Of course.